Pretty quick.
Yeah. Ready?
Yes.
Good morning, Hesston College Larks. My name is Nolan Gorman, and here are your announcements. Join Counselor Jose today at 4 p.m. in the prayer room in Croft Center for Mindful Mondays. Enhance self-awareness, self-control, concentration, and mental clarity through breathing techniques and guided meditation, and earn 5 CE points for participating.
Couldn't I go first next time instead of following that? My name's Mitchell. If you guys don't know me, I'm the esports coach here. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. So Tuesday through Thursday this week from 7 to 9 p.m., you are more than welcome to come down to the esports center and have what we're kind of phrasing open tryouts. It's more just a time for you to come and express interest if you want to join the teams, because if you want to join, like, we want you part of it. If you can send me an email to let me know like what game you're interested in playing, so I can have that ready for when you come too. But also, side note, if you are already on a team, so you're an athlete here on campus, please make sure that you talk to your coach first, because your sport will come first, and it is ultimately up to your coach on if you can participate. We're super flexible, but we want to make sure that what you came here for is what is your main focus, along with school. Thank you.
Next, this Wednesday night at 9 p.m., we are going to talk about the election. Charlie Miller and I and several others, we're going to be there. We're going to facilitate a safe but challenging place. Invite all of you to come, and that includes faculty and staff. You'll get an email, K160. And next, also on Thursday, this is Mabel. Mabel says if you've taken your training, you got to remember to do this, going to the Villa at 7 p.m. Thursday night. Next.
Have you been wondering how many formation/CE points you have? Check your points by scanning this QR code or going to points.hc.heston.edu.
Was this me? Yeah. Yep. All right. Oh, this is a big one. We now have an on-call office. I will be there tomorrow morning from 9 to 12. And it's right there in Herb, right next to our YouTube TV. We're open Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 12, and then 2 to 5. And somebody from Student Life team, including even me, will be there to assist you. These are for questions, to tell us that you're feeling sick, and then we'll know what to do, to check out games and ping pong balls, to set up a time to meet with Jose or Nick, to find a lost key, just to ask a generalized question. We are there for you. If the office is empty, then go into the Student Life office or do your WhatsApp RD on-call phone. Next.
Want to meet one-on-one with Pastor Nick Ladd to talk? Scan the QR code to set up an appointment. And next, want to meet with Counselor Jose Gloria one-on-one to talk? Scan the QR code to set up an appointment. And now an announcement from my friend Devin.
All right, 2 things really quickly. Just a reminder, if you would like to be a representative for Student Government Association, please talk to myself, Tana Hayworth, or Lily Corkle. And the second thing, we have a United States general presidential election coming up pretty soon. I know it's 2 months away, but there are some states that require you to request an absentee ballot up to 2 months ahead of time. So be on the lookout, along with Michelle's Wednesday night talk with Charlie at 9 p.m. in Kropf. Be on the lookout for me in the next couple days about information on vote.org about how to vote if you are not able to vote in your home state. And if you have other questions, talk to me or talk to OJ in the Access Lab. Thank you.
Brian.
The cross-country teams ran at the Masterson Invitational at Hutchinson on Friday and defeated a conference opponent, Pratt Community College. Angela Jenkins was the top finisher for the men's team, running 4 miles in 23 minutes. Maddie Ralph was the top female finisher. On Saturday, they run at Clapp Park in Wichita at the J.K. Gold Cross-Country Invitational, which is at 8 a.m. in Wichita. The men's soccer team defeated Ozark Christian College 6-1 on Saturday. 5 Larks scored, with Alex Radu scoring twice. The men's soccer team travels to Kansas Christian College tomorrow, and on Friday they host Allen County Community College at 7 p.m. The women's soccer team lost to Bethel College on Thursday. Kristen Oliver scored for the Larks. The Larks host Allen County Community College at 5 p.m. on Friday. Women's volleyball raised their record to 2-1 with a 3-0 win over Central Christian on Saturday. The varsity hosts Johnson County Community College on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., and then they travel to Kansas Wesleyan for a 3-team match on Friday. The JV volleyball team hosts Bethel College at 6:30 on Friday. This Thursday, the intramural event is a cornhole tournament, which, if the weather's nice, will be on the soccer field. If it's not nice, it will be in the CAC. No pre-registration is required. It is a partner event, so show up with your partner or show up by yourself, and we will place you with a partner. Faculty and staff are welcome to participate. Let me know if you want me to be my partner for that event. Intramural basketball will start next week. Sign up on the sign-up board in the Lark's Nest. If you want to be a captain, put an asterisk by your name for the drafts. We want to have both a men's and a women's league that will run for 5 weeks.
I'm going to try not to have to bend down as much. Guys, I just real quickly wanted to make a quick announcement. It's not really an announcement, but just wanted to have an opportunity on the student life side of things to say thank you to you all. When Michelle and Nick became co-campus pastors, we talked about community engagement points, what those meant, why we wanted to do them, and part of it was hopefully to be a small encouragement to get involved and to build a culture on campus that we really desired and wanted to have, and that was a small way to incentivize it. But we also ultimately talked about what would the world look like if we could just get rid of CE points and the culture of the campus superseded everything and people just showed up to things. And in some ways we've gotten a very small glimpse of that already because our point system has struggled with the number of you guys showing up to formation. And so you guys have not been getting points, and we've been trying to backtrack that. We haven't been giving points, and you guys are still showing up. This is still an amazing number of students. This is still way more students in the church than we would have had last year. So we just want to make sure you hear from us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your patience. We're working on it. You will get your points. But this is a ton of fun to see that you're showing up without that as much of an instant gratification part of it. So again, thank you very much.
Let's have all my Lark leaders come up. And if you all are not a Lark leader but want to bless them by putting your hand on their shoulder, come on up. Let's see those gray shirts. Come on up. Woo! And we can see our theme verse as people are coming up. Yay! Woo! You are the next contestant. You are the next contestant.
Yes, you are. Okay.
Bless me. If I can bless you. Bless me. Brother. Should I say testing? Testing 1, 2? Yo, what is happening? Yo. Hey, what? Such a Brother, we're in the front too. What is that?
Dear God, shh. Here we go. God, you are making all things new. Shape these Lark leaders into what you want them to be. All. Give them joy. Give them wisdom. Give them strength.
God, I just
Thank you for each of the MAs that have volunteered and are working for us this year. Give them courage, Lord, as they live into that calling that you have placed on them. Thank you just for their willingness and their excitement this year, and just bless their endeavors as we strive to minister to campus.
Yes. May the MAs, Lord, bring spiritual guidance. May they share God's love with all. Empower the MAs for the work you've called them to.
Lord, I just pray a blessing over the WAs. I thank you for each and every one of them, Father. I thank you for the way you created them. I pray that they take care of themselves just as they take care of those in their nest. And I pray, Lord, that they know how thankful we are for each of them.
Give the WAs awareness of what's going on under the surface. Help them bring peace, all. Empower the WAs for the work you've called them to. Natalie needs a mic.
God, I want to thank you for these CAs. Thank you for them stepping up to be leaders here on campus, and help them as they're building community, planning activities, and having conversations with those around them.
Strengthen the CAs as they build healthy community. Empower the CAs for the work you've called them to. Help every nest grow in your love and grace. Amen. Employees. Amen. 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 Give them a big hand. Student Life team, let's find our places. Yep, find your places. You'll need it. You'll need it. You're sitting in a chair. All right, you're going to see the Student Life team as they're getting their places.
You're right here, right?
Yep, thanks for quickly finding your place. Here we go. All right.
Oh, actually, you might be right. You might be right now.
I know that I'm right.
Student life is like herding cats.
What if I can't?
Herding cats. Here we go.
I can't get up here.
And, yeah. This week we're going to talk about identity, and we might talk some more about it on spring term. They say that people in their young adulthood are struggling to answer three of the most important questions of their life. Who am I? Where or to whom do I belong? Do I matter? I kind of think that even people who are 63 years old are still on a growing journey with that, because I am, and that's my age. I also think that those of us who have faith have an advantage, because the world might tell you that you got to be something else and all of that, a goat, in order to have worth. And God says, nope, you have great worth just because I made you and you are mine. We're going to talk to our Student Life team, and they're going to share with you their journeys about identity. Here comes question number one. Why are these three questions so important to answer and also kind of so hard to answer? Mitch? Yeah.
I think personally they're important to answer because it's important to know your own worth. I think that it's really important to know that like there is something out there for you to do. There is a reason that you're here. God created you in an image to do something special. You might not know it yet. You might not have found it yet, but there is something special placed upon your life that you may or may not ever know that you've made a difference in somebody else's life or something. And I think that one of the reasons it's so hard to find these answers, to know it, all that stuff, is just because we as a culture, as a society, as a world, put a lot of kind of molds out in front of people and say, hey, if you do this, that means that you are like this. If you are, my favorite example is my daughter's pediatrician knows that I coach esports and thought that I've never played actual sports my whole life, and told her that I would probably be a great football player, and lo and behold, like I did play football. So there's just molds and kind of constraints put on certain people for like what they do, who you should be based upon what you enjoy, what you like, where you come from. So it kind of just makes that a little bit difficult to find those.
Yeah, I think what I would add, kind of why these questions are so important, I actually think they kind of go in almost numerical order. Like they kind of start to grow on each other. Like as you're trying to figure out, do I matter? You kind of have to start at the first part, which is like, well, who am I? Before I can start to decide if I'm gonna matter, I need to decide like, who am I? What's important to me? What really do I want to stand for? And then you can kind of move on to like, okay, well, if I know where I stand for and what I stand for and who I am, now I can start to figure out like, well, where do I belong? Who are my people? Who are those people who are going to help me grow in that? And maybe who are those people that I need to maybe not necessarily be around as much because maybe they aren't going to help me grow in those ways or be about that kind of stuff. And then ultimately, if you can answer those two questions and get into those two places, the do I matter really starts to take care of itself, and you feel that a lot more, right? When you find your people, when you know what you're kind of about, and you get that, the do I matter is pretty simple, and it doesn't become a like, I only matter if I feel like I have like made some exponentially huge, like big impact on the world that like everyone could put in a book and say, yeah, Michael Smalley did that. It's like, that doesn't become nearly as important when you feel like, yeah, I know who I am, I know who my people are, and so do I matter? With the people that I'm around, I feel like I matter quite a bit.
Super cool. Question number 2 for my wonderful panel, esteemed. Sociologists tell us that in past generations, these 3 questions were easier to answer. Any ideas why?
Well, like the who am I, where do I belong, and do I matter seem to be more stereotypical. And now it's more accepting to have different roles that are not as stereotypical. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why it's super important. So then I think it's cool because it allows you to ask questions of yourself, mm-hmm. Where before, going into areas where that's not where I'm supposed to be, or that's, whether it be because you're male or female, or because you're a certain nationality, there are certain expectations. You can throw those aside and be willing to say, who am I, where do I belong, and do I matter, based on whether it be what influences you, what interests you, but you're able to do that more freely based on your interests.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think especially with like, where do I belong, looking at that, there's so many options of things to do where you can, I mean, things for jobs and things for that. There's a lot of options, and if you look at back to like our grandparents or things like that, there were more set expectations of what they're expected to do, where we can challenge that a little bit more and have more things. But yeah.
I was going to say a similar thing, that I think in the past, your world often, or people's world, was so much smaller because we didn't have the ability even to travel like we have today, right? You can hop on a plane and be across the world in 24 or whatever, 40 hours. So like, and you can get virtually on in a minute and be talking with somebody all the way around the world. So I think just options, and our world's so much bigger, makes these questions harder to answer.
And I'll add one extra little piece. I think that something that's changed the landscape a ton is just like financial realities. I think a lot of people, like I was talking about Jose, like I think a lot of people would want to be a teacher. That might be something they really enjoy, but like when you're looking in the state of Kansas and teachers are making in the $30,000 range, you're like, woof, I would really love to do that, but like I also would really like to like make a living and own a home and feed my family. So I think that sometimes there are some of those jobs that in the past maybe were really like had a big time calling type thing to them, but now it's harder to justify that strictly because of the financial realities of like what it costs to live versus what you can make doing some of those jobs.
I think you're right. There are many people groups who really don't get to take this journey like we do, because they don't have these opportunities. Yeah. We're each going to answer this one, so I'm going to start. I get to answer 2, really short. Of the 3 questions, even though Michael said they go in order, I think I struggle the most still with who am I, because I'm going to be honest, I get a little bit fixated on doing things perfectly, doing a perfect Biblet lecture or doing a sermon perfect, and I can really feel down on myself when I mess up. And so my work is just to remember at a deeper level all the time that God loves me, even if I never do a good lecture for the rest of my life. And I'm working on that. Some of you, others, let's have some new people speak. Here we go. Which question are you working on?
I think for me, one of the biggest is like, where do I belong? I used to always think that was like a geographical kind of question. I was raised in a town a little bit bigger than, probably more like a Newton size kind of thing, and I always thought that in order to be like successful, like I had to leave and go somewhere else and make a difference and all that stuff. And then we were in Washington State, and now we're in Kansas. And so I think where do I belong is it's constantly telling myself like, hey, this isn't like a geographical kind of thing. It is a where can I make a difference, and also at the same time like somebody talked about the other day being content in the area. Oh wait, that was at church yesterday. Being content in the area that I'm in, and realizing that like I can still belong there, and I can belong on where, like online, like Nick was talking about. You can hop on a plane, you can be on an online community, all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of finding that group and where you can make a difference.
For myself, related to do I matter, probably the question that I ask is, am I enough? And so that, the perfectionist comes out in me and that kind of thing. And I want to do a perfect job, sort of like what Michelle's talking about. And sometimes wondering if I do a good enough job.
I would echo that sentiment, but as I think about it, I think I struggle with it more because do I matter? I think oftentimes like we reframe that in our minds of like, am I doing something that matters? Like, am I making an impact on the world? And that's not what the question is asking, right? The question is asking, do I matter? That's a lot less like, I guess, it's just a very different way of framing it. Like, if what I'm doing matters or do I matter? Those two things can be very, very like separate from each other, but I usually put them together. And so it's like, I only matter if I'm doing something incredibly impactful. That's actually not true, right? I matter even if I was just, sitting at a grocery store or being a bag boy. I would still matter, right?
I think the hardest one to answer for myself is the first one, who am I? And that's just due to, I find other people more interesting. I don't like being very introspective or thinking about myself. I've failed a personality test before. I think that's what he's giggling about. Just, I don't like thinking about me that often. So it's hard for me to sit down and wrestle with that question.
I feel like I've also been thinking about the who am I more as I've recently graduated from college, and so thinking about my identity has felt often wrapped up in being a student, like a lot of you, and doing those things, and so figuring out more of who I am as I'm moving into a different part of life.
Yeah, I think I would also say, who am I? Just looking through my life in the different roles that I've played as a teacher and different areas, and now my role here, and my role as a husband, and my role as a father, and as I continue to seek ways to find healing in areas that need healing, I continue to define who am I, and I think that's a question. My encouragement is stay curious and kind. It's what I preach, and it's something that I try to practice even with myself.
This was harder than I thought to answer this question, because to be real, like Jacob said, and evaluate myself, I think the last one is probably the one I struggle with still the most. Do I matter? But also I would say nuance just a little bit. For me, it's also, does this life that I'm living matter? Like, does this life matter? Because I know like some of you and some of the people on this panel, like I grew up being taught and believed that being a Christian was all about like getting to heaven after this life, and I kind of grew up with this sense of like, well, maybe this life really isn't all that important, and then by result, like I'm not really that important as long as I know that I'm going to heaven when I die. And so as an adult, learning to believe and learn that God actually created me for this life, like this is what I'm created for. I'm here now. What am I doing with this life? Do I matter? What I do here does matter. How I treat people, how I love people, how I'm mean to people, how I handle difficult situations, all of that matters here, now. And so I matter. What I'm doing does matter.
Man, I'm about to cry up here. And you don't know, so we work together as a team, and Nick and I are also faculty, but sometimes when I'm down and discouraged, they do little bitty things of kindness, and you matter. That leads us to our next question. What can we do to help each other answer these questions? I'm going to say what God did to me once that helped me answer the question. One time, I was a speaker at a Mennonite convention in Orlando, Florida, for 10,000 people, and I messed up. I said something completely and totally inappropriate because my lips, my tongue I was nervous, and I just messed up. And I walked off the stage, and I thought my career was over. I wore sunglasses for the next 5 days because I couldn't stop crying. This is true. Ask my husband, Dell. My eyes were swollen shut from crying. I was embarrassed. I was dead. And I realized that God loved me even when I failed at the most important thing. And here I am. So I'm going to ask, so for a couple of you, and we're going to particularly look at Jacob, and Sam's not here, but anybody, I guess anybody. Yeah, you got it?
Yeah. In terms of advice rather than experience, I think that the easiest one of these to help another wrestle with is where do I belong? That's the easiest one in my mind to like create a welcoming space, make everybody feel like they belong anywhere. That's the easiest to outwardly channel. The other two seem to be a lot more of a journey of personal growth, and that's something anybody can do is just like make somebody feel welcome.
Yep. This will be our last comment.
Yeah, what I would say, and this one's always exciting for me, so in my trying to answer these three questions, one thing that became really important, and I still routinely tell her this and thank her for it each year, is when I was here at Hesston and I took Biblit, Michelle shared like a personal Hausgeschichte moment, like where was a moment that God like stepped into your life, did something in your life, made an impact. And it was a story that made me like rethink the story I would want to tell somebody, and in turn started giving me things that were like, ooh, man, maybe I am doing the wrong thing, or maybe I should be doing something different, and maybe I should be going this way or that way. And so one thing I always try to encourage people to do is like share your story with others, listen to others' stories. You might feel like your story isn't important, or it doesn't really matter, it doesn't have much to offer somebody else, but we all have done very, very different things. We've all experienced very, very different things. We all see the world very differently. And so sometimes just hearing something from someone else can strike something in you to be like, oh, wow, holy cow, I haven't thought about the world in that way, or I haven't thought about kind of what that means, or how that maybe impacts others. And so one thing I would encourage you all to do is like, don't be afraid to share your stories with each other. You guys spend a good chunk of your life together for the next several years.
Yep.
Take advantage of that time, share with each other, be open with each other, and all of your stories matter.
Yep. Oh, give this group a big hand. You guys are so sweet. All right, listen to the instructions. We're going to try something new with attendance. So, first off, everybody turn off Wi-Fi. Everybody. I got to do it too. And then there are two ways to do it.